boop, boo, boop. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. It's the holiday season. It's the holiday season. If you put up a tree, that's cool. I don't have one, but I've walked around and drived around looking for Christmas lights. And it's been real nice. Hey, everybody. I'm thinking about putting on some Christmas music after this. So I don't know what it'll be, but maybe I'll do a full report next time. Until then, my friends, let's get into Shattered Worlds Day 1, Book 6, The Nullgate. Chapter 1, Joran. Easy, easy. Joran helped Therese step down off the damaged foot of the Zora statue. Dozens of sisters milled about, calming the heroes, offering them food and drink, tending to their wounds. Grundle was talking to the matron supreme, Barillon of Saj. No doubt they were discussing plans for taking Portillion to that damned gate. Joran reached out again to Sophris, but found nothing. He was surprised at himself. He wasn't prone to forming lasting friendships. He was a bit too serious and insular to manage all it took to maintain them. But Sophris was an easy man to love. He was one of the few truly honest people Joran had ever met. Grundle was a close second. He'd always been a man of principle, but now that he was a holy guardian, he'd be even more insufferable. Joran chuckled at the thought, then walked over. Grundle looked up to meet him. Joran, how is everyone? Great. Everyone looks healthy and ready to go. Any word from Mayana? Mother Barillon smiled. She was a real looker, and as smooth as they come. A woman with that many gifts is dangerous. She said, We've just received word that she and the other priests survived. They're being taken to the gate via an alternate route. Joran slammed Grundle on the arm. Gods, that's good news. He slapped him again. Grundle winced. Sorry, Guardian. He turned back to Barillon. Can you get word to her? Barillon shook her head. I'm afraid our communication is strictly one way at this point. Joran thumbed to the giant double doors. They still shooting out there? No. We let the authorities know you are all safe and that they should go to the Tower of Justice to ensure everyone's safety there. And, no casualties? She smiled warmly. No, Mr. Barlow. When we heard about the assault, we positioned our more gifted priestesses in the crowd outside. A few scrapes and bruises, but nothing more. We've not received word yet on losses at the tower, however. Joran nodded and stepped back. Okay. Good. Well, we all ready to go? Barillon nodded. My team is ready when you are. Joran clapped his hands. Let's do this. Well, how about that? I like Lady Barrelon. Blessed Mother Barrelon. Chapter 2. Numerius. The group traveled down the stairs in groups of two or uh the party traveled down the stairs in groups of two. Numerius hadn't seen the gate yet. He was excited to see tech from a bygone era. He'd visited a few ancient ruins on Veritas, but they were nothing like this. Even the sides of the staircase were amazing. Layers and layers of old pottery, long discarded building materials, scraps of paper, presumably covered with words from languages not even wizards could decipher. Occasionally, he'd ask one of the daughters to fill him in, but most of them looked as clueless as he was. Barrelon seemed to take an interest in him, though, so within a few minutes, he and the priestess were gushing like school chums about old legends and extinct civilizations. Other than comedy and space travel, history was Numerius's favorite topic of conversation. It didn't hurt that Barrelon was a looker either. She was no Ayana, or even Faline, but still pretty damn hot. And there was something about an older woman, especially a priestess, that appealed to Numerius's mischievous side. He loved the idea of being with a woman who carried herself with such authority and reserve. Who knows? Perhaps the further away she gets from the temple, her scruples might dip a bit. As Entride can dream, eh? Once they reached the vast interior chamber, all such material concerns fell away. Numerius understood vastness. He'd spent half his life in the vacuum of space, for God's sake. But this was something else entirely. What could make such a massive opening this deep under the earth? The welcoming gate was gorgeous, shiny and delicate, like a fine vintage from the aerial vineyards of Pirius Sleen. After that, the cloud spirits and semi coherent rainbows filled him with a kind of joy he hadn't felt since childhood. Then the Nullgate rose into view, and the fun came to an abrupt end. The gate itself was monstrous, a thing of dark, terrible beauty. He recognized elements of the ancient statue Cap had given his life for, the thick, blood-like reds and curlicued carvings, and that familiar, icky feeling, roiling his guts in the same way the statue had. He and Joss both lost their lunch. Torvald and Ariel must have been old hands at viewing this sort of thing, as they were completely nonplussed. Numerius made a mental note to ask the clownfish not to include any shots of himself in gastric distress in their film. Therese seemed buoyed by the calmness of the other priestesses. Plus, she had Portillion to look after. The pair were inseparable, finishing each other's sentences, talking philosophy and magic, generally cutesying it up everywhere. Numerius had to smile at how adorable they were. Everything changed once they approached the gate. Mercifully, the Horus crew wouldn't be going through the thing, but even so, being this close to it was upsetting. Off to the right, a horn sounded, followed by dozens more. I need some water. I'm all out. What about tea? I'm all out of that too. How are we doing on time? Maybe I'll just wrap this one up early. 9 minutes. I'm going to have to take a break. Right after this. Where was I? Doesn't want to be shots of himself in gastric distress. Oh, a horn. Barillon smiled. That must be Lord Stargazer. Excellent. Numerius's eyes went wide as a small army of soldiers, led by a wall of mounted troops, marched into view. Behind the line were armored trucks and other vehicles, and a seemingly endless line of support workers. Reynold Stargazer slipped off his mount and bowed to the matron. Then, reaching out to part the line, he introduced to the assembled crowd her beloved Mercy, Aeana the Just. Everyone fell to their knees, even Joran. Joss just stood there, confused. Aeana noticed him, smiled, and dipped her head. Joss followed suit. Oi, bud, will you look at this? Something big is happening now. All right. Chapter 3. Beloved mother, Grundle remained kneeling. She touched his head, nudged him to rise. Come now, Grundle. You're my champion now. There'll be no need for head bowing ever again. Grundle nodded. Yes, your mercy. Aeana scanned the small crowd. She stepped out to greet them. Numerius and Joss stood, not knowing what to do. She touched them both on the arms, her face loving and kind. Gentlemen, I'm so sorry. You both lost so much. Captain Thraxus was a good man. And Sandemon. Joss snorted. Nim poked him with his elbow. Joss straightened up. Numerius spoke. Old Sandy was a bit of an acquired taste, but he was a hell of a leader. Joss nodded in firm agreement. We would surely have failed, if not for him. Aeana patted Nim's arm. There's talk you may be promoted. You deserve it, my friend. Nim laughed. You know, I hadn't considered that. I'll have to look over the paperwork. She patted his arm again and kept moving. As she passed, Joss gave Nim a withering look. Portillion hugged her for what seemed like hours. Something about his escape had scarred him. He'd been through a great deal. She hoped he wasn't too badly broken. They would need him where they were going. She whispered in his ear, Portillion, we do what we do for all of humanity. He nodded. She stepped past him. Joran was still kneeling, his head bowed. She knelt down to lift up his head. As his face came into the light, her eyes widened. You're crying. He nodded. My lady, She put a finger to his lips. Mr. Barlow, you served your lady well. Once again, you played the hero to a T. He smiled. As they rose, she pressed herself into him. As he reached his full height, he looked down into her eyes and stared. She laughed, chest heaving against his stomach. You should have seen yourself hanging from that hook like a piece of bait. He gripped her by the arms and mock scolded her. Listen here, young lady. She screwed up her features, faking contempt. They laughed in melodious unison, neither one more relieved than the other. The rest of the crowd stared. It had to be a bit like seeing a queen flirt with a chimney sweep. Grundle wasn't startled, of course. He knew what his new mistress thought of the old man. They had something, something he hadn't completely understood until just then. With the bonding of his soul to hers, he'd gained access to her most private, hidden emotions. She was in love, deeply and truly, with Jorn Barlow. He understood the feeling, for he too was in love with her. Okay. Okay. I don't know why I'm talking like that, y'all. I guess I'm just happy for Grundle, except he's I don't know. There's something going on there. But Grundle gets to work for her. That's fun. I'll do one more. Chapter 4, Barrelon. Or maybe this is Aeana. Chapter 4, Aeana. Gentlemen, ladies, you have all been summoned here to take part in an extremely important endeavor. She waved to the gate. As you know, this gate has existed in this place for more years than history can count. As long as anyone can remember, it has slumbered in this place, awaiting the day when its secrets can once again be revealed. That day is here. She waved to Portillion. Thanks to the brave efforts of this man and the other scientific minds in his order, we now have the ability to reawaken this sleeping giant. She beckoned Portillion to step forward. And thanks must also be given for the generosity of House Ferul. With their support and the support of the other board members of the Ferul Corporation, we now have the necessary resources to conduct a comprehensive investigation into its secrets. I just realized I'm going House Stargazer and the Ferul Corporation. Ferul's his mom's name, so it's House Stargazer. And thanks must also be given for the generosity of House Stargazer. With their support and the support of the other board members of the Ferul Corporation, we now have the necessary resources to conduct a comprehensive investigation into its secrets. She beckoned Reynold to step forward. He joined the two of them, smiling. Aeana cringed at their obvious familiarity. And of course, we are also joined by her beloved Mercy, beloved mother Aeana Stargazer, Aeana the Just. She bowed her head. Beloved mother? Aeana walked forward, followed close behind by Grundle. She formed up next to the matron. Barrelon continued. Friends, it is with this cadre of loyal believers that we will usher in a new era, one of cooperation between secular and spiritual forces, an era defined by the just powers of righteousness and those courageous organizations who defend them. We go, she pointed directly into the center of the gate, to save our worlds from evil. It is a mission given to us by her great mercy, the much beloved matriarch Elian, daughter of Zora, pride of Ghost Lake. We bid you safe travels, great lady, and good winds to guide you along. The crowd murmured, Beloved you are. Aeana couldn't believe it. To think, just a month before, she'd received her assignment from that great woman. And now she was gone. Aeona wondered how long Barillon had known. She reached out and gripped the older woman's hand. Barillon looked into her eyes. Mother Aeona, you have been given a great gift, the gift of purpose. You shall be the first to enter the realm of shadow and the first to bring it to heal. Mercy and justice prevail. The crowd, including the matron, fell to their knees. Grundle, the lone holdout. The moment stretched. Then Portillion spoke. Shall we get started then? Aeona laughed. The rest joined in, none louder than Numerius al-Bashar. I asked a friend if he might be willing to help me punch up the comedy because, like, basically I just made Numerius Jar Jar, and that's not good enough. So, yeah, I got to work on how to make things funnier overall. But I do like how goofy he is and competent. I like competent and goofy. That's fun. Like George McFly, right? Maybe not. Maybe that's a bad example. All right. Well, that should do it for that. There's just a few more chapters left, so stay tuned. Probably be two more of these. I don't know. Maybe a recap. We'll see. Peace.